And here we are. We are back for a final edition here of Pop Culture Life's best holiday movie ever bracket. We are down to the final four as the Elite Eight just took place. I'm Vince Mercandetti. I'm alongside Jake Schwartz and Austin Spiro. We are here, guys. It is the final four, and we're going to spend this episode breaking down the Elite Eight and then choosing who we think is going to make the championship and then choosing a champion. This is the final podcast for this bracket. Jake, how are you doing?
Oh, ho, ho. I'm doing great. This is a long time coming. We're finally at the final four. I think it's an appropriate final four to have. And I'm excited to hear about everyone's opinion on these movies and see the comments flowing to get your final angst out there on the movies that are making it forward. And we're going to see who's going to win this baby once and for all.
Yeah, so here we go. We're joined by producer Austin. Austin, you have been on like a movie journey of your own, basically. Not so much holiday, but just in general, right? You're going through that top 100 ever.
I am. Yeah, I'm going through the top 100 movies of all time, according to the American Film Institute. I've been doing that for pretty much. I started it when the pandemic started, and I just watched King Kong last night, the original 1933 version. So that will make I've watched from movie number 100 all the way to movie number 41 now.
You're almost there. How'd you like King Kong?
King Kong was good. I enjoy those older type of movies that, it's when cinema first started. I like to see where it all started and how cinema has evolved until now. So I enjoyed it. And especially the fact that it's the original and so many other King Kong movies have been made. It's nice to see the one that started it all.
It's like the Universal ride, the original King Kong ride.
That was a great ride.
1,000 times better than the crap that's out there right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Austin, do you have the bracket for us so we can pull it up? And it was a perfect.
You got to let me share.
Oh, I guess that would help. So I don't know why it always defaults this. You should be able to now. So perfect segue, because our final four here, a bunch of movies that either have multiple variations or multiple movies within the set. And we'll re-explain the rules for what feels like the 100th time as we go here. But Jake, if the Sweet 16 was heartbreaking for me, which it was, because basically all of my favorite movies were crushed, the Elite Eight was my revenge tour because all of the movies that I hate were eliminated. So that brings me joy and holiday spirit.
Wow. Some of these I'm shocked to hear. I'm curious to hear you say which ones you hate, because I don't want to give it away, but some of those out there, like the Home Alone Christmas Vacation matchup that was brutal to witness. Yep. But yeah, similarly, my favorite movie, I didn't think was going to make it to the final four, but it had an outside chance in Jingle All the Way. So I feel your pain, because that one got crushed the previous round. I'm definitely happier with the results we have today. And there's a couple of debates that are put to rest because of the results we have. So
yeah, so let's get into it here, and we can start at the top. And there are two of these movies that were in it that I watched this week, including Scrooged, which I just watched like 10 minutes ago, just finished. So let's kind of start back at the Elite Eight here. We had bottom left. We'll start with was Die Hard.
Can you zoom in? Sorry, zoom in just a tad bit so we can get all of them in the frame.
In or out?
In. Or yeah, like zoom. Or zoom out, sorry.
Yeah, zoom out. There you go.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, perfect.
So we can start bottom left, because I feel like we always start top left. And that had Die Hard versus Scrooge. Now, Jake, we had talked about Die Hard being basically the movie, and this was in our kind of misfits bracket. So they're kind of Christmas movies. You can make an argument they're Christmas movies. A lot of people don't think they're Christmas movies. So we kind of gave them their own region. And Die Hard beat Lethal Weapon badly to get into the Elite Eight. Then it went up against Scrooge, which was the movie I just finished. That by all accounts is absolutely a Christmas movie. I was rooting for it. I voted for it, and it was really, really close. If I remember, Austin, you could put the final score in there for Die Hard and Scrooged.
It was very close. So this one, we had our first tie of the tournament.
Ooh.
Yeah, it
I was
was.
gonna say we had two of those in the Elite Eight, right?
We had two of them in the
Yeah.
Elite Eight. This was the first one. So the original score in the first round, in the first bit of this, it was tied 35-35 at the end of the voting period. And so we had decided that we would give it sort of an overtime and give it a 12-hour sudden death vote, I guess you want to call it. And the winner at the end of that would win the whole bracket. So in this one, it ended up being, after the runoff vote, it was 34-31 in favor of Scrooged.
Yes, so there you go. The people spoke. This is exactly, Jake, what I wanted to see happen, which was Die Hard lose to an actual Christmas movie that was worthy of it. I'll reserve my thoughts on Scrooge. What did you think of this matchup? Which one did you vote for?
I definitely want Scrooge here. I'm shocked that Scrooged is in the final four. I'm excited for it. I think it's an underrated Christmas classic, and I suppose our group believes in it just as much. Die Hard is a fantastic film on its own. I'm in the camp of I don't believe it's a Christmas movie. I think if you make that a Christmas movie, American Psycho is a Christmas movie. There's all sorts of movies that become Christmas movies, and I just don't think it is. But, it's been doing a ton of damage in this tournament. But one could argue maybe it just went up against, a couple of easy wins with Batman Returns and Lethal Weapon in the first few rounds. But yeah, Scrooge edged it out. It should have won. It's funnier. It's a better Christmas movie. It's based off A Christmas Carol loosely, which is a classic tale. And so it's nice to have kind of that story in the final four. And Bill Murray has made it to the final four. How could you not be happier to have Bill Murray in your final four? So I'm sure you like him a lot better than Will Ferrell. And the only thing that worries me now is that Scrooge, even in the runoff, has not been able to top 35 votes.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to do you. It's going to need to put up more than 35 to reach the championship and win it. And I don't think it has it in it. It hasn't topped 35 this entire competition. So,
yeah, I'm with you. So my thoughts on Scrooge, I think it very firmly is based off of Christmas Carol. It might as well be a 1988 remake. But that one was really entertaining. I mean, I had seen bits and pieces of Scrooge. It's one of several movies in this bracket that I never actually sat down and watched, goal to goal there. But I had seen parts of it. This time I sat down and watched it, and I was really it was a really, really entertaining Christmas movie. I am a Bill Murray guy. Groundhog's Day was one of my favorite movies growing up. I honestly thought, I know we have a strong Midwest presence in the group. I really thought they were voting for it because Bill Murray's from Chicago. And I figured the movie took place in Chicago, but it actually takes place in New York City. So that kind of surprised me, but it was entertaining. I think the points against it are that A Christmas Carol did so poorly, and granted, it had a brutal first round matchup, but this is A Christmas Carol, just kind of a more modern day entertaining version. Instead of being like a banker or whatever he is, he's now a TV executive. And it's entertaining, and it's Bill Murray weird. At points, I thought it got a little too weird, but it was entertaining. An hour 40 minutes, that goes a long way for me. That's a nice combustible size for a holiday movie without getting ridiculous. And this is exactly, if this was going to be the matchup the whole time, this is exactly how I saw it playing out. Scrooge is good enough to beat Die Hard because it is in fact a Christmas movie, and I figured Die Hard was going to start to feel penalized once it faced actual Christmas movies, and it did. And Scrooge won. I think it should have won. Unfortunately for Scrooge, this was way, way better than I think. If you asked anyone their top 4 Christmas movies ever, very few would have Scrooge in it. But by proxy of how the bracket works, it kind of made sense it made it this far. And now it's going to go up against a juggernaut, and I don't think it's going to be particularly close. I think the winner of Home Alone Christmas Vacation is going to destroy it, but that's okay. It served a really good purpose of eliminating Die Hard for me. Entertaining movie, totally worthy. Bill Murray, New York City, big fan of all of that.
So like two observations. One, I agree with you. I think if it's in any other quadrant, actually, sorry, if it's in two of the other three quadrants, it probably doesn't make it out of the second round. That being said, it did take down Bad Santa and Die Hard.
You're right. Bad Santa was surprising.
Yeah, those are pretty big Christmas movies. So it wasn't going against like, Tokyo Godfathers every round. It went against in the first, or Bad Santa went against that in the first round. But yeah, Scrooge took out Die Hard. It took out Bad Santa and it took out Gremlins. So I mean, it's knocked out some cult, following type movies in this bracket, which is nothing to be ashamed of. I just don't think it has the horsepower. I almost think it's like getting tired. It's like a Gonzaga who's just like super tired at this point, is like, limping into the final four matchup and is just probably going to get obliterated on the side of the brackets. On the other observation I want to make is that I find it ironic that a lot of these Christmas movies are about like big businessmen, like having a change of heart on things, but like Christmas has become a very commercialized like holiday in a sense, where it's about like, basically a lot of companies making money, which I don't have a problem with, but I'm just saying it's funny to me that a lot of themes in these Christmas movies are like, oh, these businessmen are terrible people and they need to be taught a lesson. And that's going to be their lesson, between this movie and the Santa Claus with Tim Allen and Jingle All the Way and Christmas Carol and It's a Wonderful Life. It's just like big businessmen suck. Christmas, family, rejoicing, being poor, good. Like it's I think it's an interesting theme in a lot of these Christmas movies. So
I feel like the late 80s into the early 90s in general was very self-aware of commercialism. American Psycho, you mentioned earlier, is another good example of this. It's very, and really Christmas Vacation with the Neighbors brings it in too, and we'll get to Christmas Vacation, Home Alone.
Sure.
Very into kind of self-aware commercialism, kind of poking fun at itself. Really bringing back the value of Christmas is not having the most special toy. It's having a relevant and accessible father, and not having the world's most perfect Christmas, but just the fact you can celebrate it with your family. And not having in Scrooge, it's not having the highest TV ratings. It's understanding like maybe this isn't the thing you should be doing for Christmas. Maybe it's recognizing those around you who you love. So there's a lot of that going on, and all of it kind of in the same era of the US. And now I feel like it's so funny though, because those movies now in 2021, like I feel like the climate's the complete opposite. Like millennials in particular have become very anti-commercialism, and now it's like, like we get it. Like it seems like an afterthought now, but back then, like that was a huge thing. And these movies kind of drive home the point. Like there's more important things around Christmas time than spending.
Sure, that's fine.
Yeah,
but I kids love. Well, kids love. Someone's got to pay.
Kids love commercialism.
Let me rephrase it so I say this correctly, just in case. Santa's got to make money somehow, so parents got to fork over the dough to Santa to keep him in business. So we'll keep it at that. But I think for me, at least on my end, for last words regarding Die Hard, I got to rewatch it myself, and just I really want to understand the side of the argument as it goes into the depths of the ocean of eliminated movies here, of why people are so not just strong for it as a Christmas movie, but strong for it as the best Christmas movie.
I really think it's a trolling thing. I really do. Because I'm with you. Like I saw one good argument, and I don't remember what it is now, but I saw one good argument where like a light bulb went off. I was like, okay, like I can see that angle, but beyond that, like that's what I think it is, Austin. I think most people do it just to make purists about Christmas angry. And I've seen an argument where you can maybe consider it, but to think that you sit down every year and watch Die Hard and you're like, yes, this puts me in the spirit of Christmas. It's the best representation of the holiday season. I am sold. Thank you, Die Hard, is insane to me. Like you can't possibly feel that way. I just don't believe anyone if they are in touch at all with their inner emotions and can channel them in any meaningful way, would ever feel that way. I just refuse to believe it. I think it's totally trolling.
There are a lot of people that love Christmas stories, so maybe it wouldn't shock me.
The other theory is they're missing a chromosome or a few, like I said with like
Oh,
you.
They have an
the
extra
fight.
one.
Yeah. So, Austin, mute your mic. So we'll go to the now we can go back ahead to the top one, because I think it's a really good juxtaposition. You have Die Hard versus Scrooge. Now you have Home Alone versus Christmas Vacation, and these to me are like two of the most, like, they just like vomit Christmas at you when you're thinking about this matchup.
We're gonna blow our load on this matchup already. We don't want to go to like the worst matchup next.
Okay, fine. Let's switch it.
Grinch-
Yeah, well, I
Grinch
like
and
that.
Charlie
Yeah.
Brown.
Grinch stole Christmas. Yeah, we knew immediately what that was.
Let's spend the least
Um,
amount of time possible on these two movies.
Yeah. So Grinch Stole Christmas versus Charlie. What was this, the kids bracket? Is that why I hate it so much, Austin?
Yes.
Okay. So Grinch Stole Christmas versus Charlie Brown Christmas, which this was like the enemy of your enemy is your friend for me. Like I know I hate Charlie Brown Christmas. I'm really, really upset it made the Elite Eight. I don't think it beat anyone in particular that I like loved, but it's up against Grinch Stole Christmas. And really, for me, it's just the lesser of the two evils. Grinch Stole Christmas, a classic story. I don't know that any movie has really made it into a classic movie for me, and that's my biggest problem with it. Like the Jim Carrey version and the older version to me are both just okay movies. I like the story as a whole. I'm not crazy about the entire worlds that Dr. Seuss created for it. I would probably have this as like maybe a top 10, probably not top 5 Dr. Seuss story. So that's where I'm at with it. It was okay. Like it's
Top
solid.
10.
It's not Elite Four solid for me. Same argument as Scrooge, but I think Scrooge was significantly more entertaining as a movie, even though it's a direct ripoff of Christmas Carol.
Can I just clarify something?
Yeah.
Are you saying it's not a top 5, maybe top 10 Christmas movie, or not a 5, maybe not a top 10 Dr. Seuss? Like there are 9 other
Both.
Dr. Seuss.
No.
books that
I'm
you
saying it's
prefer.
somewhere. I'm saying it's somewhere 6 through 10 for Dr. Seuss. It's definitely top 10. It's probably not top 5 for me.
At some point, I'm going to need you to rattle off the other 5 Dr. Seuss world/books that you prefer instead of The Grinch Stole Christmas.
I'm gonna
At some
pull.
point.
I'm gonna.
No, I'm not going to put you on the spot.
No,
but
no,
at
no.
some
I know.
point.
I'm gonna pull them up because I can't remember these off the top of my head.
I can't wait to expose your racism.
I mean,
ones
Cat
you
in the
like.
Hat and Green Eggs and Ham right off the bat are two that are definitely better than How the Grinch Stole Christmas. That's
Okay, green
right there.
eggs and ham. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I'll give you that. I'll give you
About
that.
the Lorax.
You have to give me Cat in the Hat too.
Cat in the. I think
Yeah.
Cat in the Hat is like a better ride, and like I feel like it's like it's like gone better. But like if you actually read the book, I don't think it's anywhere on the playing field of the Grinch Who Stole. Like I don't see it. The story itself. Forget about like being a kid and just enjoying like seeing something silly. Like the story of the Grinch is fantastic.
Okay.
And
I
I
didn't know,
didn't know
if there was more
this.
to that. Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, I gotta stop there abruptly. I didn't know this, but like when I go to watch the classic Grinch, not the Jim Carrey one, which either or I like both those movies, but the classic Grinch, there's actually like an extended version of the Grinch and his like trials and tribulations of living. Like it doesn't just end here. Like there's a movie on Amazon Prime
Yeah.
that goes more into the Grinch in his life, which is bizarre. You like get his old mother involved. Like it's crazy. When he's like driving on the road and like the Cat in the Hat drives by and he's like, basically F you and like hits him and keeps trying. It's like, it's really weird. But anyways, the Grinch to me is just like, I think, we'll talk about Charlie Brown in a second. I think, the Jim Carrey version or the classic version is way better than Charlie Brown Christmas and a lot of these other movies in this side of the bracket. But Jim Carrey's version, I think it's really underrated. Like
That I can agree with.
I watched it again and I was like, man, this is still pretty funny to me. And I didn't realize now as an adult how much adult humor is in
Yeah.
it comparatively to kid humor. They do both very well. Molly Shannon's in it. Like I was like, whoa, Molly Shannon's in this movie? Like what? She's awesome, superstar. But it's just really funny. Jim Carrey does a great job. It's almost like the scene where he like comes in as the cheermeister and just like wreaks like havoc after. But at first they're showing him like a montage of like enjoying being the cheermeister. He's hilarious. They're doing like a conga line and everything, and he's like, I need to go back home. And like, no, okay, I'll keep going. And he's like into it, and then he like wreaks havoc on everything, and just every little detail of it is perfect. And yeah, I don't know. I found it really, really funny. The makeup they did on all the Who's in the Whoville was amazing. And Ron Howard, I think, directed it, which is pretty cool.
I actually agree with you in that that version is underrated, but I only say that because a lot of people think the older version's really good and Jim Carrey one sucks. And to me, when I watch them, I think they're both like good, not great. So like they're in the same tier to me. Jim Carrey,
no Cat in the Hat,
or Green Eggs and Ham.
Mike Myers and Cat in the Hat. That's what you prefer.
The Butter Battle book is my favorite Dr. Seuss book, to put this into perspective, by the way. So that's 3 right there.
Okay.
But yeah, so I mean the Grinch for me, yeah, I actually, if I had to choose one, I'd choose the Jim Carrey version. I did think that I don't know why people hate that so much, but look at this ass kicking. 52-17.
Whoa,
is awesome. That was fantastic. And I voted for the Grinch this round. And I think I've actually voted for the Grinch every round, but it's mainly based on who it's been facing. Like it's either been a movie I've never heard of, or it's a movie like Charlie Brown that I hate. So welcome to the kids region.
Welcome to the kids region. Welcome to SmackDown. The Grinch. If the Grinch takes this competition, like this is wild. I'm trying to think of like another like sports franchise that this would be comparable to, of like a 1 seed that like we didn't think was going to do as much damage, but it's just steamrolling the competition. Like
were the Andrew Luck
putting up
Colts
50 points around.
Were the Andrew Luck Colts the team that the Patriots eventually destroyed in the Deflategate game? Were they a 1 seed? That's what this reminds me of. Is
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I think the Patriots were maybe.
Yeah,
it might have been in Indianapolis, where what's his face ran for like 250 yards.
Either way, it doesn't matter. They remind me of the Colts because they're going to lose in a big game, but they are like destroying other teams. So there you go.
Sure, that's fair.
Yeah, but anyway, this was a beatdown. Again, I don't have any problem. Like the way the matchups have played out, I don't have a problem with Scrooge or Grinch Stole Christmas as it pertains to the regions. It's just, again, I don't know that either of these would be a top 4 for me. But I have no problem with it the way. Does that make sense? I have no problem with the way it plays on the bracket. But again, if I'm listing it, it's not there.
If we're not, the toughest part of this bracket, which I can empathize with Austin, is having to group these movies in a way that makes sense to the theme of the movie.
Yeah.
And still keeping it competitive. It's very hard to do. And I think, what we're seeing with the two bottom brackets, the 2 bottom quadrants here, are that it's just a matter of like, it's the best way we can put things together. And do I see Scrooged or even Grinch as a final 4 in all of the Christmas movies? No, I don't. But just like in the playoffs, for any sport, it's the same way, you're going to have the what's a good example? Like the Seahawks and the 49ers during the Seahawks runs, like they're in the same division. So like, one of them's going to have to go as a wild card. One of them's going to go as the top seed, or the Yankees and the Red Sox and the Rays. Like one of them's going to be, they're going to have to go through each other instead of playing like Yankees versus Red Sox in the World Series. Just never going to happen. And it probably should, so I think it's the same here, where it's like, this is just a virtue of the Grinch being the Los Angeles Dodgers and getting to murk all these opponents early on and then make it to the final 4 and lose, But
yeah, it's funny, and it's like you're describing it very straightforward, and it makes total sense. But it is funny how many complaints we get about how unfair certain things are. And Austin's done a phenomenal job. Like putting these brackets together is really hard work. To do it scientifically, as scientific as you can with a bracket on pop culture, it's difficult. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of research and following up and things like that.
No
He's keeping
pay.
count. Yeah, he's doing it
Not
totally
paid.
voluntarily. But man, I mean, the amount of complaints
Unionized, damn it.
about the amount of complaints about how a movie's ranked and what region it's in, and is it a movie or is it like a special, or is it, which version are we voting for? It's like, these are very simple rules. Vote for your favorite version of whatever the movie is. And there's a method. Like once you describe the method as to how we rank these, which was IMDb critic ratings, which is really the only way that makes sense. Everything else is subjective. Like at least critics are professionals, and that's the best we can do with it. But after that, like it's a bracket. So, there's nothing beyond that scientific. You just vote for what you like better. And like we heard complaints that Charlie Brown wasn't a real movie because it was it's a TV special. Well, fine, but it was nominated and it was voted into the bracket. And oh, by the way, it's pretty highly rated because it came in as a 2 seed. So this is my disclaimer. Austin, you did a great job. And everyone who's complaining about a pop culture life best holiday bracket is like, you need better hobbies. So that's where it's at. But that all said, I'm very happy the Grinch won, and that is a real movie, and it's a Christmas movie, and it's 1,000 times better than Charlie Brown. So totally okay with
it's the
that.
CJWs, the Christmas Justice Warriors out there.
Stop! It's a Christmas bracket. Stop complaining. Like it,
there's always, it's on Facebook. They're gonna complain.
Yeah.
And if you like one of these movies a lot, you're gonna be pissed off if you see it lose to a Home Alone or whatever. But at the end of the day, like.
And no one's talked shit more than me, but I will bitch about the matchups, which is fine with me. Like you can be, if you vote, for example, a Christmas story over a Christmas, like
your
right.
complaints are valid. Yeah,
no, you can complain about a matchup, that's fine, but to complain about how we got to that matchup is like, what do you? There's a specific transparent method here, so get over it.
I did it. It happened to me all the time, and I'd have to constantly keep posting. There was a post where you could recommend your movie. You didn't recommend it in the 7 days. That's your fault, not mine. Right. Sorry. Enjoy the rest of the competition.
And it's always the people coming in that are like, I wish I had seen that. Well, it was open for like 4 days. Like, you can't be this passionate about movies and then not check your group for like days on end.
Or it's like, like people like coming in, like when we had like the greatest hip hop artists of all time, it's like, someone comes into the final 4 of the competition and is like, what happened to Will Smith? And it's like, what? Like, we're talking about Eminem, Tupac, Biggie, like, and you're coming in here like last second with Will Smith. It's like someone coming in last second here with like Hook. Yeah. Like Hook is not a Christmas movie. There's a snow scene in it. Like, get out of here. You know what I mean? Like I do love Hook though.
I think he wears a Santa hat at one point.
He does. Maybe it should be in the competition next year. Damn it.
So
Dustin Hoffman is the Hook. Perfect.
2 movies that have no question as to being Christmas movies are who the winner of this goes up against Grinch Stole Christmas. One is Elf, which I have very pointed thoughts on, and one is the Santa Claus, which I'm feeling more and more. I have a mental block against watching this movie again, although it is on my list of things to watch between now and New Year's.
Which one? Santa Claus?
The Santa Claus. And I've seen it like 4 or 5 times, but I haven't seen it in probably 15 plus years.
Oh, wow. Well,
yeah. You have to remember, I don't have children yet. So there's like no reason for me to watch a children's Christmas movie.
I mean, but maybe I'm just a weirdo, but before I had kids, I was watching these movies every year. It's holiday season, bro. Come on.
You are a rewatchable though.
I am a rewatchable.
This is what you do. And it's not just it's not just Christmas movies, it's any movie, and it's not just movies, it's TV shows too. Thank you. Yeah, I don't do that. Like I have a few
I do that.
Yeah, it's I know.
Sick. So I belong in a mental institution or like a really Rewatchables Anonymous.
Yes. So that I know.
Hi, my name's Jake, and I've watched Lost 47 times.
Right. That's the difference. Right.
Before we move into really diving into Elf and Santa Claus, I wanted to share 2 things. First one is In 1984, 1995, Sally Brown was voiced by Stacey Ferguson, also known as Fergie.
Wow, pre or post meth?
I would have. She was a child, so I would hope it's
probably pre. Yeah.
And the other
Who
one
is,
was
who is she voicing?
Sally,
Who's
Charlie
Sally?
Charlie Brown's sister.
Is that the black-haired one?
No, that's Lucy.
Oh, okay.
That's
That's the only one I remember.
that's
Wait,
the blonde-haired one that
what's
loves
the-
Linus.
What's the red-haired one?
It's like she
that-
has brown hair. Does she have
Charlie-
brown eyes too?
What's the red hair one that the non-Charlie Brown character likes in one of those other movies? I don't know. I've seen like pieces of them.
That Angelica from
Talking about, man.
Rugrats?
Is that played by Will.I.am?
The other one I wanted to share was it seems like Charles Schultz shares the same sentiment as Vince. His initial response to bringing the Peanuts characters to animated life, and I quote, "There are some greater things in the world than TV animated cartoons."
It's the first time Charlie Schultz and I agree on anything since he made Charlie Brown, but yeah, it should have never happened.
He hated this, actually. He did not like the Christmas special. He thought it was terrible.
Peppermint Patty? What is that? Is that like a candy?
Peppermint Patty is the butch athletic one that likes Charlie Brown.
Chris Watkinson, by the way, thinks you're such a jackass right now, Jake. Like he's pimping up Peppermint Patty in the comments. You're like, who is that?
That's why I said it. I saw his comment. And
Yeah.
I was like, what is a peppermint patty?
I'm
Like, I don't know if he's telling me to go eat one or if he's telling me about a character.
I'm not even a big peppermint fan, so that's another reason I hate Charlie Brown. But
God,
I'm
talk about
having
useless-
The thing is, Peppermint
useless
Patty's
things.
not redheaded. That's why you threw me off.
Candy canes are overrated. They taste like garbage. They're like candy corn of Christmas.
traditional candy canes. Completely agree because they're peppermint. They're like
Yes.
overly peppermint. Like I like peppermint. It's
Too
if it's the
peppermint.
less dominant flavor. Like an Andes mint has peppermint.
Yeah.
There's like
Ooh,
mint.
I like
I
Andy's.
love
Mint.
That's
Andes
good.
mint.
Yeah, that's awesome. But if you have a candy cane that's peppermint, it's like peppermint like overflowing in your mouth. Like it actually like leaks around
And
in your
it's
mouth. It's
sticky as
disgusting.
fuck.
Yeah.
It annoys me. 'Cause
hate
It's so sticky. And like as a kid, I used to remember like wrapping. You get over like the umbrella side of it, and I'm like, I don't want this thing anymore. Like, who wants this?
Yeah.
Like, throw it out. Like, no, I do like the like chocolate can. Like some, people would bring like the mixed kind of.
Oh,
Candy
yeah, or like the
cane.
fruity flavors.
Yeah,
like,
the
those
fruit.
are
It's like
really good. Yeah,
starburst of candy canes. Like that, I'm
absolutely.
down with. But the
Yes.
old, traditional peppermint ones. But yeah, man, a nice Andes after an Olive Garden.
You know who else likes candy cane?
Yeah,
Buddy the Elf.
I don't think I didn't hear that. Oh, yeah, exactly.
Buddy the
So,
Elf.
He
He
does, you're
also
right.
likes cotton balls and spaghetti with chocolate syrup. So I don't
that
want to
scene
take,
grosses me out.
take
And I have
his preferences on taste buds.
the one compliment you'll get from me about Will Ferrell. I have no doubt he actually ate that in that scene.
He said he did.
He did.
He said he actually ate it.
I believe it.
He said that had to. I was looking at interviews and it said that had to have multiple takes. It wasn't just one.
Oh, yeah.
He had to
See,
do that several times.
he's very dedicated to his very mediocre craft. So I'll give him that as a compliment. Like he's got that going for him.
All right, let's get
Um,
into that matchup.
Yeah. So Elf 3 versus Santa Claus 4. So this was supposed, should be a close matchup. Elf has a pretty good, it's kind of modern, right? Like it came out this century. It's got a pretty cult following, I feel like, that is forming. And I'm curious how it's going to age. I think it'll age well. It's going up against Santa Claus, which to me, and again, I didn't have children in the past 20 years, so I don't know if the Santa Claus was always popular amongst children.
Not just a kids
or-
movie.
Right. Well, it's not in the kids bracket, so that makes sense. But
Mm.
I don't know if Santa Claus lost luster at any point. But I feel like now this bracket's reminding me like how I remember it is probably pretty accurate. Like it's a pretty good movie. And I remember it being a good movie. I'm going to watch it again now as a 34-year-old, see if my mind's changed at all. But this was a movie of, it's kind of like 90s Bliss versus early 2000s Bliss. You've got Tim Allen and you've got Will Ferrell, and they're going up against each other. My girl Zoe's in Elf, which is always a +1, except she's blonde, which is like a -10. So
And it's not even a good blonde. It's like It's like,
It's
oh, I
not. It
tried to
does
dye
not.
my hair blonde, but it came out this orangey yellow because I had brown hair blonde.
If
You
you have
know,
like deep crystal blue eyes, like the obvious play is to just always have super dark hair, which she has in New Girl, which makes her amazing. But in this, she has blonde hair, and it doesn't make any sense to me. Beyond that, this is a
I have a
good.
lot to say about Zoe Deschanel's character in this movie. Go ahead.
The movie itself is fine. Like I've said, I don't like Will Ferrell as a lead character in anything. And the more I watch this movie, the more my Will Ferrell radar is kind of going off, and I'm liking it less and less the more I see it. Like, it to me is like a movie you see 2 or 3 times, not a movie you see 9 or 10. But my wife is going to force me to see it 9 or 10 times because it's her favorite tolerable Christmas movie.
Is she still watching right now? Do you know?
I don't.
Okay, I don't want to offend my sister. I'm very worried.
She's
I saw her
already brought
watching-
up we have to watch it this holiday
Okay.
season. So go
Okay.
ahead. Yeah.
Oh, it's my turn now. Okay.
Yeah. Well, if you're gonna bash Elf,
I don't.
yes.
I don't want to cut you off, but I just wanted to
No,
understand before proceeding if my sister was going to disown me.
she is
Oh,
watching.
she's still watching. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Uh,
With the most
Right on
efficient-
cue.
the most
and I love that
efficient
her
way to-
comment was just yes.
Yes.
Like, it wasn't even like, hey, Jake, I'm watching. Like, I love Elf. Don't play. It's like,
She
yes.
will strike
Go ahead,
fear
you
into your
clown,
heart in
you know?
3 letters. That's all. Like, she's
Yeah,
the most
if you-
efficient person
If
to
you
scare the
ever
hell out
want
of you.
me to bake a cake for your children again, you will be very mindful with your next few words, is basically what that yes was just now. I'm the older sibling and I'm scared out of my mind.
Yeah, I can only imagine the look too that she's giving as she wrote yes.
Yeah.
Now again, I'm gonna make her watch Santa Claus.
Good.
Never seen it, so
Has she watched? Did she watch Jingle All the Way with you when you berated it?
She did, and she liked it more than me, for the record.
Okay,
She was
all right.
like, I didn't see anything wrong with that movie, and I was listing, as I did to
Got
you
that
and
Schwartz
Austin.
blood in her.
So like,
man.
yeah, I was listing like the 9 or 10 problems I had with it, like I did with both of you. But she was like, it was like cute, like it was a good Christmas movie, fine. But she loves Elf, and
All right.
I don't know if it's because she doesn't hate Will Ferrell like I do, or some other reason, but she loves Elf. And we said in the beginning of this, I'm not shocked Elf made it this far, because I think I'm in the minority. I think a lot of people love Elf. I just like it, and I'm kind of liking it less and less. So with that said, Jake, go ahead on your thoughts, if you dare, on Elf and the Santa Claus.
I'll dare. It's fine. So before watching it again, I tried to watch all the movies in the competition that I hadn't watched in a long time or wasn't in my classic rotation so that I could understand the voting. The first time I watched Elf, I loved it. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. It's hilarious. It was like, it had like a sense of shock to me of holiday movies that when it came out, which I couldn't believe when it came out. I didn't realize it was so old. I was like, oh my God, this is fantastic. It's hilarious. It's got a good story. It treats a Christmas movie differently. It's not all about Santa Claus, which is awesome. It's about an elf, which is different. I watched it again, and what a load of crap this movie is. Oh my God, is it terrible? I was sitting there thinking to myself, like, how do people still like this movie? Like, I don't understand. Like, Will Ferrell is okay. The movie score is great. I love the movie score, but that's not the point here. And it has a smidgen of time dedicated to what's his face from Game of Thrones.
The
Peter Dinklage.
The
Peter
little
Dinklage,
man.
Thank
Yes,
you.
Peter
He's a great
Dinklage.
actor, and his scene is perfect. His scene's perfect. They come out guns a blazing with Bob Newhart in the beginning, so you're just like, all right. But Zoe Deschanel's character is useless, virtually useless. She is severely monotone, and not in like the good Vince Mercandetti deep voice monotone
No,
way.
you're right.
She's like just painfully like no expression, no emotion, just there as a love interest. Winds up singing at the end. Her singing voice, I hate. I'm
Yeah,
like, I don't
it's
even
not
like
good.
this. It's not good at all. And she's supposed to, uplift the city's ability to sing Santa Claus back to life with the longest rendition of "You Better Watch Out" that you've ever heard in your life. That it isn't even that great, and there's 30 people singing it, and that's what rejuvenates Santa Claus back to life. And I was very shocked at how overrated I felt it was after watching it. and I almost feel like I don't want to ever see it again. Like
Wow.
the ending of it, I was just like, ugh, like all right, they had a baby, great, and they're Zoe Deschanel is aware of the Santa Claus tie-in. The dad comes around like within seconds after disowning his son like a few minutes before, and it's just I don't know. I was shocked at how much I did not care for this movie. And the Santa Claus is way better than it in every way. It is way more rewatchable. It is an unbelievable story. Tim Allen is way funnier than Will Ferrell in it. They have a lot of adult humor. That's great. The music is great. The story is great. You get a healthy dose of behind the scenes of the North Pole with Santa Claus. That's another thing with Elf. My God, was the animation awful. And they tried to pull off some weird, like, snowman that he talks to in the forest. And it's like, it wasn't even funny. I was like, what is this? Why was I duped as a child or a teenager whenever it came out?
Hopefully a teenager. Yeah, that's actually a good point. I never thought of that. When he's traveling from the North Pole to New York, it's like I feel like it was a lot of hat tips to other movies and like claymation movies, and that's why they did it that way. But it was terrible animation. I'll say this in defense of Zoe. I don't think the point was for her to have a good singing voice to get Santa going. I think it was that she was finally willing to sing in public because she had a fear of singing until Will Ferrell kind of came along and was like, "Hey, I'll sing with you," and then she had to sing alone to save Christmas, and she did. The part about that scene that makes me laugh even more, and I think anyone who grew up in New York or grew up around New York will tell you, is the Central Park police, which is not a real thing. Like there are no Central Park police.
The Lord of the Rings, like
yeah,
Dementors from
they
Harry
have
Potter
like
that chase Santa Claus throughout the park.
Yeah, there are no Central Park police, and also just the concept of Central Park police, like thinking Central Park would ever require police, kind of cracks me up too. And then like they're just viciously going after Santa, knowing that the national media is there on site, is like that whole part just kind of cracks me up. James Caan, Scott Caan's father, is the father in this movie, and he, I thought, did a fantastic job. Like I love that character because he actually made it kind of believable that he would, again, an executive. He's like an ad salesman or an ad
businessman that chooses his work over his family.
Any man who makes a lot of money is just the most anti-Santa thing that's ever happened.
The biggest villains in Christmas movie lore. Absolutely.
Yeah. I thought that his transition was actually kind of relatable. Not relatable, that's the wrong word. It was believable. Only because they had several examples, and they also had the chick from 40-Year-Old Virgin, the eBay lady, as the wife, also famous. Her name escapes me at the moment. So, yeah.
She's also the mother of Will Ferrell in Step Brothers.
Yeah, unfortunately, she was in that movie too. Yeah, so that whole
virgin.
Thank you. The family dynamic of that movie I found to be believable. I actually like the little kid acting, and I usually hate every single little kid actor. I thought he did a decent job.
The snowball scene was good, where they throw the snowballs at the bullies. Very believable.
Yeah, my issue with Elf is that it gets a little too Will Ferrell-y too often. And my other issue is that, honestly, if I'm James Caan, I have a right to be angry. Like, Will Ferrell is totally out of control as Buddy the Elf, interrupting his job, making fun of small people. I get that it was all, in jest. He really thought he was an elf or whatever who had escaped. But, like, he just totally disregards his dad's requests and whatnot, like almost ruins his job. Like that would make anyone angry. I don't think Buddy the Elf was in the right in that situation. And then he continues to just totally screw up everything around their house, makes great Christmas decorations, which is fine. But Buddy the Elf causes havoc every single place he goes. And
he's like the villain. He's like Kevin McAllister.
Yeah, like part of it, you're supposed to be like, okay, well, he's an elf in New York City. Like that's part of the dynamic. But the other part of it is like everyone who's pissed off at him kind of has a right to be pissed off. Like anyone in a vacuum would be mad in those situations.
Who is he to go into that department store and tell all the kids that wasn't Santa Claus?
Yeah, like that's a screwed up thing to do. And then also the whole mailroom situation. Like he's basically causing a riot in the mailroom. It's a party, but still. And
then he insults Peter Dinklage's character who's about to unleash
That's what I mean.
the next Dr. Seuss book that they want, and the dude walks out, and like, not just that, but it's like he's eating gum off of the subway that people have chewed. Like, he's not very sanitary.
Yeah.
Like, what did they teach on the North Pole? Did the parents? I can't remember. And I just watched it. Did the parents put him in a foster care, and that's where Santa Claus finds him, or they just find him in the nursery after he's born? I can't remember.
I don't.
He was in an orphanage. Santa visits the orphanage,
Okay, so they
and
gave him up. Okay,
yeah. So, and then Santa, there's a bear in Santa's bag, and the baby ends up crawling out of the crib to get the bag, or to get the bear. He ends up in the bag.
That's right.
and that's just acceptable. That Santa Claus can just steal a kid from an
Abduct a
orphanage,
child and not return him.
and the orphanage is not sitting there in mass hysteria, over this. Or what about the end? Like, does everyone know there's a Santa Claus now? Has they captured that on the news, or did they do some Men in Black thing where everyone's memory's wiped?
Well, no, I think the point is that they do believe in Santa Claus now. Like, they've seen him in the flesh.
That's like seeing Jesus in the flesh. Like, what's the point of faith at that point, and believing in Santa Claus?
Oh, it's stronger faith.
Well, it's true.
By the way, Austin dropping absolute truth bomb. I mean, this is like some of my favorite trivia that I've seen so far. Jim Carrey originally cast as Buddy the Elf. I feel like I would like this movie twice as much if it was Jim Carrey instead of Will Ferrell. And I didn't think Will Ferrell did a bad, like, for his part, I thought he did a good job. I just don't like the character, but I feel like if Jim Carrey did it, I would have liked the character more. And also, Will Ferrell used to be a mall Santa. That's hilarious. And Chris Kattan was one of his elves, which is also hilarious.
Chris Kattan could have made this movie better.
Yeah. So
my God.
Those are fantastic facts from Austin on that movie that makes it so much better. And I'm with Chris. The mailroom, for whatever reason, I think the first couple times I saw that movie, I laughed at that scene. Now it's, for whatever reason, just aging terribly. Like, it is not a good scene anymore. And I don't know why I'd have to go back and watch it. I just remember the last time I watched it was not good.
Chris Watkinson just said Jon Favreau can do no wrong. He's got the Midas touch as far as I'm concerned. He's right, though. Jon Favreau's a beast.
Yeah.
He's just a stud. He was
great
even
in his Scrubs cameo when
he was even in Seinfeld too.
Pill popper. Yeah, he's been in everything. He's fantastic.
In everything. And he's directing class, except for The Lion King. He kind of failed in the Lion King remake. That didn't go so well. So
this was the other one of our ties. Elf and the Santa Claus. They tie at 35,
God,
magic
vote?
number. Yep. And then 31-30. We almost had a double overtime. And the Santa Claus moves on, which again, I am okay with now. It's funny. I kind of felt like Santa Claus was going to get overlooked, but then once it started winning, specifically once it beat Jingle All the Way, I was like, okay, I'm finally, like, people feel the same way I do about this movie. So I thought it could beat Elf, and then it did beat Elf, barely, but it did. And now it's in the final four. And the Santa Claus, a lot of great things about it. I mean, it's funny. It's way more relatable than I think the Elf movie would be. Tim Allen does a great job in it. You're right. I never thought about it till you mentioned it, but the North Pole scenes in that movie are kind of fantastic. Like, that is a take on the North Pole that I think is better than maybe any other movie's ever done. And if anyone watched beyond the first one, which I have, and I've told you, my friend Steven and I saw the third one in theaters in college. They continue on to show you more about the North Pole throughout the series. You get to see more, and the themes, like the second and third Santa Claus, like, yeah, the second one is not as good as the first. It's still good. It's just not as good as the first. The third one is just, it's not great. Right. Although Martin Short is fantastic as Jack Frost. It's just not as great. But the stories they continue are kind of cool. Like, the second one is, because it's a play on the clause word, like Clause. Yeah. And the second one is like the Mrs. Claus. Like, you need to marry in order to keep your Santa hat. Like, you need to marry someone in the second one. So I think it's interesting. But anyways, the first movie it's really good. And I can't believe it won by one vote. That's wild. Yeah. Everyone loving Bernard, which I agree, great character. Yeah, we by the way, your wife is upset that Jingle All the Way lost, which brings me to my other movie that I watched this week, which was Jingle All the Way. That's my girl. That's what I'm talking about. I didn't think Jingle All the Way was bad per se.
Oh, look at you retracting now that Jess says she likes
No.
it.
It
All
had,
right.
it had a lot of problems, but I didn't think it was like some of the movies, like A Christmas Story, are actual bad movies. I would probably watch Jingle All the Way again if I had to, but it was pretty.
Next time,
It
like
was
you
very mediocre.
forced Love Actually down my throat, you're gonna watch Jingle All the Way with me, and I want to see if you can have a different level of enjoyment watching it with me.
I probably can't, but it just became so ridiculous eventually, and everyone, we won't rehash this again. Everyone in
Yeah, let's not
Minnesota
rehash it again.
should have assault charges. Is basically
Props
what
to
I'm saying.
Minneapolis for producing a Christmas movie.
Yeah, I'm surprised there's not more Minnesota-based movies
Where
that have
is
to do with Christmas.
Austin? Where is the Santa Claus? Obviously, the elf is in New York. Where's the Santa Claus based out of?
Chicago.
Chicago. Okay.
Oh wow, we had a neat
I believe it's Chicago.
Unlike pizza, Chicago beat New York at something. That's amazing.
Wow. And where is the Grinch based?
Some made up place that I'm never gonna. Universal Studios. That's where it's.
Oh, Austin, you've got a free ticket there anytime
There
you
you
want
go.
it.
Where's Charlie? Where's Charlie Brown based? Is that Pittsburgh or some crappy
I
city?
think it is Pittsburgh, isn't it?
That one I don't know. I would guess Pittsburgh. I don't know.
I'm kidding.
I'm
I
like
like Pittsburgh.
I'm 60% sure it's Pittsburgh.
Mount
so-
Crumpet,
Wow. Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Look at
Okay.
that. So yeah, by proxy of the bracket, I am totally okay with all three of these movies in it, even though we didn't see it coming. We didn't predict it. At this juncture, based on the Elite Eight, I voted for all three of these winners, actually. Unlike the Sweet 16, when almost everything I voted for was a loss, in the Elite Eight, it was the complete opposite, except when we get to this final matchup. Home Alone
Juggernaut.
versus Christmas Vacation was the matchup of the entire bracket, even if it didn't end in a tie.
Totally Red Sox Yankees, right? Can we just?
Oh
agree on
yeah,
that?
this was. I think people who, because this had such cult followings. I mean, the fan bases in Home Alone and Christmas Vacation were really strong from the start and never stopped. Home Alone and Christmas Vacation are both movies I really like. In my case, I'm going Home Alone 2 here. I like it better than 1, and that probably is a New York bias because it takes place in New York City. But I love both of these movies. I love Christmas Vacation. I love on a different level. It is my overall favorite Christmas movie. Home Alone, I think, is absolutely worthy of being a Final Four. And even if I had to rank them, it's probably in my Final Four. It just wouldn't be 1 and it wouldn't be 2 and probably wouldn't be 3. So yeah, I didn't react to this the same way I would have reacted, say, if A Christmas Story beat Christmas Vacation, which it didn't. It lost by 29. And then we had 6 versus 7. Home Alone, Christmas Vacation was going to be close. I knew it was going to be close. Austin, let's post the score.
Yes, I am so excited to post this score.
I know you are.
The score is Home Alone 50 and Christmas Vacation goes down with a total of 38 votes.
Wow.
I'm surprised.
Not even close.
I know. I'm
yes.
surprised.
Austin's happy.
Austin made 14 burners for this vote. And now that he's an admin, let himself into the group. That's the only explanation I have.
That was the whole
both
ploy
these.
to become an admin
Yeah.
of this group just so Christmas Vacation could lose.
It was an
There it
inside
is.
job.
There's the whole job. And he's gonna sign
Um,
off after that.
Yeah, 50 votes.
50,
50 votes. And it wasn't a
Dude.
blowout. Like Grinch broke 50, but Charlie Brown had 17. This was like Christmas Vacation.
88 votes.
38
this matchup.
votes would have beaten every single other movie in the Elite
Yes.
Eight, and it
Yes,
lost
you're
by
right.
12 to Home Alone. So this was a lot of votes. This really got the group going. It was almost, I think, 15% of the group voting, which if you've ever run a Facebook group, like you get 10% participation in anything.
That's pretty good.
You're doing a
Yeah.
great job. People were passionate about this. Home Alone, one of those things you have to kind of pick which one is your favorite. I picked 2. Obviously, a lot of people, I'm sure, picked 1. I also liked 1, which for me is part of the reason that I like the Home Alone movies. 1 and 2 are basically a scene-by-scene remake, but it's a good formula, just like a Christmas Carol remake. So I don't have a problem with it.
How you should do a sequel.
Yeah. So
Major League did the same thing. You just do the complete remake.
right, like episodes 4 and 7 of Star Wars.
Mhm.
So yeah, I mean, Home Alone 1 and 2, both very solid movies. I don't count 3. That's okay. They made 2 really good movies. And 2, in my case, a little bit more nostalgic for 1, not only because of New York, but also because you've got a Tim Curry cameo and you've got Maggie from it, Angels in the Outfield in it. So those are, that's where I was coming from. I'm shocked it was not. I would have guessed it would have been one of the ties, and it wasn't. And that's the only thing that surprised me about this.
I thought so too, but the more I thought about it, the more I understood it, especially with the age range in our group. I think Home Alone makes sense if we're millennial dominated. A lot of us watched that as we were kids, is like the main, like I told you earlier, Home Alone was my favorite movie as a kid. That will probably that or Santa Claus. Then as I became an adult, Jingle All the Way and Christmas Vacation became my two favorites. I think it has a lot to do with our makeup here in this group as Home Alone. I didn't think Home Alone stood a shot to win this competition. Now I think it actually has a really good road in front of it to take it home. I think it's going to have an easy time with Scrooge. It's not going to even be close. And I think the winner of Santa Claus versus Grinch, which most likely probably will be Santa Claus, it could upset the Santa Claus in the final round. But Home Alone, I mean, you're talking about, forget 3 and the rest of the crap that they've made since. Home Alone 1 and 2 are amazing. I almost like the second one better than the first. I think I do actually like the second one better than the first.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've talked about this before, but like to create a movie within a movie with the Filthier Souls,
you really
Angels
like
with
that
Filthy
part.
Souls. I think it's great. I think it's so creative because you're so focused on, the difficulty in directing and producing a movie on its own to make just like a side project to feature in 2 scenes. Like that's pretty good. And how are you like, if you're the actors in that movie, how, like, do you get 2 credits on IMDb? Like, how are you credited? Because you're like in the movie they're watching.
I think you get a speaking credit, right?
But like, what movie is he really in? That guy,
Home Alone.
He's in, yeah,
because the real fake movie doesn't exist. So I would think he only gets 1 credit for being in Home Alone, right?
Yeah.
It's like if you have like I don't know, like a flashback scene or something. No, it's a bad example. Anyway,
Dude,
I think
I can't believe the house. So which Bewitched? Well, I guess it'd have to be the old one because it came out in 1989. So it has to be the old one. Okay.
And then the Lethal Weapon house, Todd and Margot, my favorite characters. I can't believe that either.
Wow.
Austin, can you zoom out the bracket further? I want to see some of these past matchups to see how we got here.
Yeah.
Because
2 seconds.
I keep saying that I'm okay with all 4 of these movies, but I know at some point something pissed me off.
Oh, It's a Wonderful Life.
It was Home Alone beating It's a Wonderful Life. I can
Yes.
tell you, that's the one
You're right. That is.
right here.
That was a bombing too. They got almost 50 votes in that one. So, I mean, there's a cult following. It's very clear. You might be right. It could be age. I'm a little shocked though, because there's a lot of Gen X's in this group too. And Christmas Vacation should have fit that bill. And that didn't have enough clout either. Yeah, I mean, Home Alone should have destroyed Rudolph. It did. The weird thing to me is that it almost beat It's a Wonderful Life as badly as it beat Rudolph, which is like, what are we doing here?
I don't think It's a Wonderful Life stood a chance with our group. I think it's our group. That's
I mean, they don't appreciate greatness. I understand that, but
well, it's a great movie. It's not comparable on a Christmas level. Yeah, I think you and the rest of the Mercandettis just need to accept that.
It's not just me. It's so that was the one place where Home Alone to me probably should have lost. It didn't. And Christmas Vacation, I voted against it again, but that one I understood a little bit more because I feel like it's more in the same ilk.
So wait, you voted for Home Alone in this last round?
No. I voted for Christmas Vacation, but I'm like that. I'm not upset with that outcome because I kind of saw it. Like I thought it was plausible. I didn't think Home Alone stood a chance against It's Wonderful Life, and then it did. Even though I didn't think It's Wonderful Life would do all that great because of the age in this group. So go figure. Christmas Vacation. Yeah, I mean, it was going to beat A Christmas Carol. That was the brutal matchup I was trying to remember for Christmas Carol, and then it thankfully destroyed A Christmas Story. Die Hard, like you mentioned earlier, it got 2 other movies that are very, very loosely Christmas movies. And Die Hard's an excellent action movie. Like as a movie, it's fantastic. As a Christmas movie, it doesn't really fit the bill for me either. So losing to Scrooge makes sense. And Scrooge has taken out a couple of good movies, but Scrooge is also a good movie. So I don't have any issue with any of that part. Really only one major upset on that side of the bracket. We move to the other side of the bracket if we can move it over a little bit.
Real quick before you go over there, A Christmas
Yeah.
Vacation may have lost because it didn't face a movie with Christmas in the title. Like,
Yeah.
Look at that path.
It
That's
was a
crazy.
Christmassy path for sure.
A very Christmassy path. And I want to say before we lose Christmas Vacation, it is like the undisputed Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Like you can look at it however you want. You can hate it. You cannot like it. You cannot find Chevy Chase funny like this bozo on our podcast somehow doesn't. But like it is literally a Christmas movie, like to the point where the scenes are divided by someone changing the
advent calendar.
An advent calendar. Like it's Christmas.
If you added another 10,000 people to this group, Christmas Vacation would have beaten Home Alone by, I think, hundreds of votes. This is kind of how I see it. But look, I'm a man of stats. This is what happened. So Santa Claus, again, I thought it'd be a gunfight with Elf, and it was. I thought it would beat Jingle All the Way, and it did. And I thought if it did beat Jingle All the Way, I would take it seriously, and it did. And then it destroyed Fred Claus, which was going to happen. Elf had a nice run. It, took out 2 movies, including Nightmare Before Christmas, which was no pushover. And it lost Santa Claus. I think that was fair. And then you go to the easiest bracket, which was Grinch beating a movie no one's ever heard of. That was expected. It beat another movie no one's ever heard of, which, by the way, I forgot was animated. I almost watched that instead of Scrooge, and I was like, screw this. And then it beat Charlie Brown, thank God. Charlie Brown,
another animated,
should have lost to Muppets in my mind. And then it continued to win after that. So I'm glad it's gone. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the regions, very few hiccups in my mind. Now we have the final 4. And we'll start with the right side. Santa Claus versus Grinch. 2 very, very Christmas movies. Can't argue that.
Dude.
Do you think
Grinch is like the bully in the school? Like, look at it just like murked that entire, like, not even close. Just how many?
So,
I would love to hear from Austin in a second. How many total votes it's had this competition?
It's got to be winning. It's broken 53 times.
Yeah, and 60 once. Like that's crazy.
We hate British people. Apparently, Love Actually loses in the first round, and Santa Claus. For Grinch Stole Christmas has to be winning total votes, right? Like I don't even think it's that close.
It can't be.
It's got almost 200 votes. Like
Home Alone's got to be the next 6 after that. Yeah. I don't think
I could try and total that up once I finish with the fun facts.
It'd just be curious to see. I mean,
more so though, Jake. Santa Claus versus Grinch, I think, is the closer matchup in this final 4. Who do you have as your winner, and do they have any chance of winning the whole thing?
Yeah. So I think Santa Claus, again, a Christmas-driven movie, which is the spirit of this competition. I think it should win because it is the last remaining. Sorry, that's not true. Santa Claus and Grinch, but like it's like just about Christmas, about Santa Claus. Heck, it's about how you become Santa Claus. And so I think it will beat the Grinch. I think it's going to, ironically, it would be an upset because it's a 4 seed versus a 1 seed.
Sure.
But I do believe it's the better movie. I think people realize it's the better movie. But then again, I mean, the Grinch has annihilated the competition so much that there's at least 50 people out there that view the Grinch as either one, the Jim Carrey or the classic, as a great movie. So it has a chance. I do think Santa Claus wins this thing 45 to like 38 or something like that. And for the first time, the Grinch gets less than 50 votes in a matchup. The Grinch deserved to be in the final 4. I don't think it deserves to be in the championship. I do love it. I watch it every year. I watch both movies every year, but Santa Claus to me is one of the goats of this thing. And it's charging full after a momentum booster in defeating the highly overrated Elf and beating Jingle All the Way and Fred Claus, its brother. I think it's pumped and ready to take it to the Grinch and in home field advantage and walk away with one silencing the stadium.
It's if you had asked me in a vacuum, if you said, hey, we have this bracket, best Christmas movies, we'll say, and the final 4 are Santa Claus against the Grinch, which one would win? I would tell you the Santa Claus would win by like 10 plus votes.
Yeah.
The thing that scares me is the momentum Grinch has. And this is kind of like college basketball. You know, we've got one seed left here in the final four. The Grinch has, and this could be a wolf in sheep's clothing in that Charlie Brown Christmas, Klaus, and Santa Claus the movie 3 are really not that strong of competition for where they face them in the tournament. So this could very well just be those movies weren't good competition. Grinch got here easily. You can make that argument. The Santa Claus is the first juggernaut it's facing, and the Santa Claus has taken out now a couple of movies that I think had some pretty good followings. So I agree with you. I think Santa Claus would win. I think Santa Claus should win. I think Santa Claus is really the most original of these four in it that's left, and that goes a long way for me. The plot is like entirely original to me, whereas Home Alone, not as much. I mean, that plot hasn't been done a ton of times, but it's not as original. Scrooge is a complete remake, and The Grinch has been done several times as well. But to me, the Santa Claus
but
is
the original is original.
Yeah, but again, the fifth or sixth best Dr. Seuss story.
It's according to you, who has a very bizarre taste in top 5 of Dr. Seuss. But I do believe that like the Grinch classic
Horton
may very well be the best representation of a book in cinema in the history of cinema, because it's almost a shot for shot of the book, but done so in a way that's highly enjoyable with great music. You know, and the poor Grinch has to walk around while this guy is just singing crap about him the whole time. You know, but I do believe it's probably the best remake of a book we've ever experienced. So,
okay, you can make a case for adaptation. Yeah,
So-
I mean, I think this will be a very close matchup. I think Santa Claus could and should win, and I think that Grinch got as far as it should go. Like, it's a worthy contender, but it wouldn't surprise me if Grinch won because it has had unbelievable voting so far. So we'll see.
Of the 4 movies left, the fourth most is Scrooged with 104 votes.
okay.
Next
on the nice.
Next on the list is Santa Claus at 119.
Wow.
Then Home Alone has 140. And then Grinch totaled 166.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, Santa Claus wasn't even second. So that's the one
Jeez.
area. I don't know who these Grinch people are that are like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen, but they could come out in full force and take out Santa Claus. We'll see.
I'm telling
Santa
you,
Claus is the better movie though.
It is. Go watch The Grinch with Jim Carrey again, because I think as an adult you will have a different appreciation for it, in how it's done, because there is a lot of adult humor in there that is pretty good. And Jim Carrey is awesome. He's just awesome, and he's great as the Grinch. But I don't know, man. Now I'm starting to get scared. Like I don't mind I love the Grinch, both movies. I wouldn't mind it winning, but I can't see it beating any. I see even a fight with Scrooge would be close, but like, I mean, 160 some odd votes in the whole competition. That's just absurd. Like,
So
it's almost like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs offense. Like, how do you think it's going to be stopped, but just like they just keep putting up ridiculous points. Like,
I mean, you're talking like 55 votes. Like most of these movies are struggling to get 50 votes. Grinch is averaging significantly more than 50 votes. So I mean, we'll see.
So Jess cries when Grinch turns nice.
I said that earlier in this podcast. Every time without fail, she's seen the movie now, probably with me and our children, probably 40, 50 times. And it's almost like like the Pavlov dog salivating. Like when you ring the bell, it's like as soon as the heart triples in size, like just she could be like in another room. It's like cutting onions. She just starts pouring tears because of that scene. Jess is she's a huge heart. And
I was going to say,
she
awesome.
loves feel good kind of stuff. And the Grinch really did it first of all these movies, with like the bad guy turns into a good guy at the end. So, she's a sucker for it. She loves it. I'm trying to think of the other one she cries at every time.
Christmas
just
Carol
escaping.
probably did that first, but the Grinch
Sorry.
does a good
Yeah,
job of it.
yeah,
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah. If you ever meet Jess Austen, this will make a lot more sense to you. She is absolutely would find that. I mean, it's a very heartening scene, so I don't blame her, but put it into context.
Yeah, Christmas Carol was like in the 1800s, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That
It's
was
Charles
the first
Dickens,
one.
so
There's
yeah.
like 27 different adaptations of the Christmas
Yeah.
Carol. So,
And if you told me some sort of Shakespeare like led to Charles Dickens being inspired to write it, I wouldn't be surprised by that either, because Shakespeare invented everything. But let's go to this other matchup here.
Or did he?
Home Alone versus Scrooged. A 6 versus a 5 by the ratings. So like neither of these movies were particularly highly touted by critics. Home Alone, you're right. It's got the nostalgia thing going. I'm with Jess had mentioned earlier. I'm with her. I don't really like the Kevin McAllister character. I think he's a punk. He gets bullied a lot by older siblings, and that I kind of feel bad for. But I don't like that. I don't really like that entire family. Like no one in the McAllisters gives me the warm and fuzzies. It's a douchey uncle. It's a douchey older brother. The mom's forgetful. The dad is the most likable of all of them. But look, wear a different trench coat, dude. Like he's the problem for the entire second movie plot. So
what are the chances of
it's
the same dude with a trench coat, same haircut, red scarf,
it's
running
unbelievable.
At the same time? How do you just? I thought about this when I watched it again. I'm like, what parent like gets onto an airplane and isn't immediately like, okay, you're here, you're there, you're here, you're there, you're here. Like they just go to the front and they're like, yeah, the kids are just in coach. Like we're in first class, but they're just in coach. Like whatever, just taking their seats, and we're just up here. And they're like, oh, did we leave the garage open? Like, what did we forget?
There's a lot of issues with how those movies come about plot wise.
The uncle's great though. He's kind of like Bernard in Santa Claus, where he's just kind of hilarious, and he sings "Cool Jerk" in the second one, and just does a freaking hilarious rendition of it in the shower.
I'm just feeling like if my brother, we'll use you for example, if you're sending me to Paris, all expenses paid, presumably, I'm gonna be a little nice to JJ. Like that's where I'm coming from. If he's a complete asshole to his nephew, and the dad's sending him to freaking France, like what the hell is that dynamic?
He calls it out in the second one. He's like, Kevin McAllister, after the whole thing happens and him and Buzz are like facing them, he's like, wouldn't want to ruin your trip, Mr. Cheapskate. He says that to him, like, because it's just like, it's so true. And him and his brother, Rory Culkin, who plays his cousin that wets the bed, they're both like, ugh. But yeah, I agree with you. But I think the first one, I think the brother who's in Paris is actually funding the trip.
Oh,
or something. There's something with the brother in Paris that's helping out, but still, it's largely known that the uncle is not doing anything financially.
For anything,
he's not helping out at all.
There's a brother that lives in New York, but they're in Paris, and that's the house that Kevin goes to in number 2.
His New York home.
Is
correct.
Brother's New York home that's being renovated, and that's why there's so many holes in the floor.
All right, so he's got a loaded brother, but it's pretty clear the McAllisters are doing well for themselves too, based on the house and having like 8 children in it. I mean, the uncle's the odd man out there. Like he obviously is not the one paying anything for this trip. You'd be a little happier in that situation.
This
dad's in the mafia.
That's a theory I've seen.
Could be.
And that Kevin McAllister's Jigsaw. I like both of those theories very much.
Kevin McAllister's Jigsaw.
I haven't heard that one. That's good.
Yeah.
I do think that like you look at Scrooged, like you take Bill Murray out of the movie, not very good, right?
Right.
Like who else are you going to put in there? Like Steve Martin, like, he's funny, he's great, but like he's not carrying that movie the way Bill Murray did. You take Macaulay Culkin out of Home Alone, and I think that movie still is excellent because of the supporting cast, like Joe Pesci and what's his face who plays Marv. Like the villains almost make that movie. Like Joe Pesci is just brilliant in both of them, hilarious, and Marv is just as funny and great in his own way. They make that. The only character that I think is pointless is the old man with the shovel. Like obviously he saves him at the end of the first one, but like
Yeah.
I just saw like like whatever,
So that's a part that I mean like I said earlier, Maggie from Angels in the Outfield, the mom from Angels in the Outfield, is so much better playing, and that's the exact same role as the old man. She's so much better. Her story is so much more likable than the old man. So that was something that I thought really was a major improvement in two that probably never gets talked about. But I
Is Central
connected way more to
Park
that.
is
Yeah.
Central Park in the 90s like really like that scary and bad and weird
It,
as like they
there's
portray in
definitely
the
more
second?
crime back then. Like
Okay.
Central Park, if you go to it now, is very safe. I do think there was maybe like, well, I mean, there was some pretty serious crimes there in the past, and New York City in general used to be a lot more dangerous. So maybe that is what some of that is. Like New York in the 80s was a cesspool for crime, and then it got cleaned up as the 90s went on. So I think that's where that's coming from. But um have you ever seen like Warriors and stuff like that? That's like another play on that. But yeah, Home Alone, it's also brought to my attention Home Alone 2. I had forgotten that they were headed to Miami, which makes me sad for Kevin
Oh yeah.
McAllister that he has to miss that. But he went to New York City, which is probably the second choice I'd have for going somewhere besides Florida.
They have a funny palm tree reference. I just realized like Home Alone 2, their casting was just like absolutely baseball movie driven, right? Like you got the you said the foster mom from uh Angels in the Outfield. You
Yes.
got Daniel Stern, that's his name, who plays Marv. He's in Rookie of the Year, right? The funny like hitting coach or
Yep.
pitching coach, whatever. Then you got Mr. Duncan, and he was, you told
Mhm.
us last time, wasn't he like
See the
the
owner
owner
in Little Big League, right?
in Little Big League? Yeah. I feel like they just like the casting director was just like, let's just take all these kid baseball movie actors and put them in here, or that maybe they just they got other roles after this into baseball movies. But I thought that's a bizarre tie-in.
I feel like everyone was just in everything in the 90s. Like if you were in a baseball, and for whatever reason,
That's fair.
and again, maybe I'm out of the game a little bit, we have not had these fantastic baseball movies since the 90s. Like we had Moneyball, which
No,
was okay.
no, not even close,
Yeah,
dude.
it's crazy. Like Little Big League, Rookie of the Year, Angels in the Outfield. I feel like I'm even missing a couple. All came out like within
Sandlot.
Sandlot, like they all came out within a few years of each other. And it's not even like you can't even make the argument like, oh, football is more popular now than baseball was in the 90s, because there's not even that many good like football movies. Even football had Little Giants in the 90s and stuff. So they're just not making kids sports movies
Well, the
anymore.
90s is the greatest decade. But I mean,
Yeah.
I also think they just with the way the movie theaters are nowadays, with like you have to come out with a blockbuster
Yeah.
and it has to be CGI and superhero related or whatever. Like you just can't make those movies anymore. Like
Yeah.
you can't make like a cliffhanger with like Sylvester. Like you just can't make that movie anymore. Like
Yeah.
unless it's like, you know what I mean? And the same goes for kids movies. Like they just like lost all their childhood creative brains with writing cinema, and like kids sports movies for some reason. Like I don't know what killed it. Like was it like that soccer movie with the catcher from Sandlot? Like did that kill it? Like what ended the great spree of kids sports movies?
I
I have
feel
no
like
idea.
everything now just has to be gritty and dark. It's really like every movie that comes out, just a gritty, dark remake of a movie that came out like 30 years earlier. That's my guess, which makes this bracket kind of almost a time capsule. I mean, look at these movies. Like most of these movies came out 15 plus years ago.
That's true. That's
Yeah.
fair. But
And
I
I
will
don't think that's
say,
just because they're recent that we are
did you
not voting
watch
them.
it? Did you watch? I keep interrupting. I'm sorry. Did you
That's okay.
watch 8-bit Christmas?
No.
Did you watch that? So that just came out, and I have to say, I can't think of something in the last like decade. It's probably like the best Christmas movie that is kind of like these movies that came out in a long time. It's really, really good. I unfortunately watched it without my wife. But it's really good, and it's like I told you guys a couple of podcasts ago, it's a much better version of A Christmas Story. But they have the ability. They just I don't know. I think think they're just not, the effort from the production companies is more so on like, pitch us your $100 million blockbuster that
Yeah,
you're gonna make, like,
I
and
I
that's what happens.
I think too, we're seeing a little bit with movies what we saw in the 90s with music, in that it's getting very, very segmented. And I actually had watched a Howard Stern, George Clooney interview where he basically said like the era of the movie star is dying. No one is going to movies anymore because someone specific is starring in it. And he said basically ratings are so widespread now, like the goal is getting lower and lower. And to your point, they're probably consolidating as far as movies are concerned, because unless your movie's going to make $1 billion, it's almost not worth releasing in theaters
Right.
anymore, because you just release it on Netflix instead, or Disney Plus, or whatever the case. So a lot of this stuff is getting missed, and it's hard to build a cult following when you have so many segmented parts of the population. Not everyone has Disney Plus, not everyone has Netflix, although I don't know who you are if you don't have access to Netflix in this day and age. But the bigger problem here is I think movie theaters are dying, and the pandemic's only made all of this stuff worse. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be hard to build a classic, I think, in this day and age, is what I'm saying. And we'll see. Nostalgia tends to come back around every so often, so maybe that'll change in the future. But it's nice to have these movies to kind of reflect back on that. Going back to Home Alone versus Scrooge, which came out, I think, within like 6 years of each other. We think that we think the Grinch has a chance against Santa Claus, although we both picked Santa Claus to win. Do you think Scrooge has any chance whatsoever at beating Home Alone?
Scrooged is Scrooged.
Yeah.
Like, it really is. I don't think it has a shot. Like I said in before this week with Die Hard, if it comes down to sheer counts, it has not proven it can go above 40 in votes, and it will definitely need more than 40 votes to take on a juggernaut like Home Alone. There's just no way, if it's putting in a 35 a week poll here,
Yeah.
it's gonna run out of gas against. It's like the champion. It's like the fighter in the UFC or in boxing that can go like 3 rounds in UFC or go 8 rounds in boxing and then tires out. Like, all it can hope for is like a knockout in the beginning. I think that's the same thing with
True.
Scrooge here. Is like, it's running in the Home Alone, and people are like, "Ugh, Scrooge, I like you, but you're no Home Alone, dude." And I think this one's going down pretty easily to Home Alone, especially given Home Alone taking out Christmas Vacation, It's a Wonderful Life, and White Christmas. You can argue that Home Alone has had the toughest road to get to the final four out of all of these movies,
Mhm.
probably outside of, no, not even the Santa Claus. I don't think Santa Claus had a tough road. I think Home Alone had the hardest road to get to the final four. I don't even want to look at the comments anymore because I'm seeing a lot of love for Gremlins, including my wife, and I'm just shocked by that. But like,
Yeah.
Home Alone has had a tough life to get here, and it's won every week, and it's not stopping at Scrooged. That's for sure.
Yeah. The other thing with Scrooge is the Bill Murray character was so evil. Like, one of the great things about A Christmas Carol is that Scrooge was evil enough, and the things that he then reflected on as he goes to see the ghosts of past, present, and future were impactful enough that it was plausible he would change his tune. I didn't actually feel that way with Scrooge because Bill Murray was so evil. I mean, he was celebrating
Oh yeah,
grandmothers dying. He's celebrating like homeless people.
yeah.
He was a dick even after seeing Christmas Past when it came to his love interest, Claire. So to have Future in all of the Christmas carols is the one that kind of puts it over the top. In
Oh yeah.
Ebenezer Scrooge seeing his own grave, that's plausible. In this one, he sees Christmas Future, and it, like, the things he saw throughout, I just didn't feel it was realistic that all of a sudden he's going to be complete. I mean, he did a complete 180 really just on the last Ghost and showed zero improvement with the first two. That kind of bothered me. Neither here nor there, because I don't think Scrooge stands a chance anyway, and nor should it, because like A Christmas Carol, and again, the matchups were different. It lost in the first round. This story, I don't think resonates that great with people. We're kind of seeing that in the comments as well. I don't think it has a chance being basically a second-rate one that somehow made it past these other movies. I think mostly in protest. I don't think it stands a chance against a movie like Home Alone that just took out Christmas Vacation, which I really thought was going to win the entire thing.
Yeah,
So
this is like a Jets of like the early
they're
2010s
going to go to the
trying
AFC
to get in the
Championship and then
AFC
get
championship.
killed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
right.
it's not a chance. And that's a purposeful shot at some of the comments I'm seeing here. But yeah, I think Home Alone dwarfs this. So I think we should talk about. So Home Alone we have winning. Do we both agree that Santa Claus is taking it?
Yeah, that's going to be my vote, and I think that will be the vote.
Okay. Before we move on, Austin, do you disagree with us?
Yeah, what
And
are
these
your picks here? 'Cause you have
matchups?
weird tastes in things.
Yeah.
I think I'm trying to base on how this is going, not necessarily what my feelings are, but
Yeah.
how this bracket is going. I think Home Alone is going to take care of Scrooge, no problem. I think the Santa Claus will take care of Grinch, no problem. I think the Grinch has had a really easy road, and that's why it's gotten 166 votes. So I
Okay.
think the final is going to be Home Alone and Santa Claus, and I think it's going to be really tough. Based on the comments that I'm seeing, a lot of people are saying that Home Alone is overrated, but
What?
but
Wow.
it keeps winning these votes. I mean, it beat It's a Wonderful Life, which I love Home Alone, but I thought It's a Wonderful Life should have beat Home Alone, and
Yeah.
then it turns around and beats Christmas Vacation. So
Yeah, that
it's
was a
real.
shocker.
Yeah, this one's really tough. I think I'm gonna go with Home Alone is gonna beat Santa Claus, but I think it's gonna be really close. I'm not gonna be mad either way because all of the movies that I wanted to lose have lost. So
It's yeah, what am I talking? Home Alone has torn my heart out back-to-back rounds now. And but I have to vote. I'm gonna vote for it
Yeah.
over Scrooge. It's more enjoyable than I think Scrooge was, even though I like Scrooge a lot. But
I'm in the same
yeah,
camp.
it's yeah, I think you've got it right, Austin. I when it comes down to Home Alone versus Santa Claus, I will vote for Santa Claus, and I think Home Alone's gonna win. But Santa Claus is like the ideal, especially of the ones left, is like my ideal Christmas movie left.
I'll say this. If we were doing like, okay, Santa Claus 1 and 2 versus Home Alone 1 and 2, I would have Home Alone 1 and 2 win. I would vote for Home Alone 1 and 2. But
Yeah.
I think the Santa Claus is not only a better Christmas movie than Home Alone, it's a more rewatchable movie, and it's got the right theming of Christmas and should win. So I'm going to vote for the Santa Claus 2. I do think after everything's said and done, Home Alone will be the victor. And if you look at its path, I mean, you really can't blame it for winning this whole thing. It's taken down juggernauts every step of the way. And even Rudolph, like the Red-Nosed Reindeer, that's no slouch. That's a great Christmas classic, and it ripped right through it. It actually had I guess technically had the least amount of votes against Rudolph. I don't know if that's because of the matchup or because people were really torn. But Home Alone versus Santa Claus, it's a great matchup. I think it's a good matchup for the finals. I think it's a matchup that everyone should be okay with, even if they're not happy that their movie didn't make it. It's kind of like Steelers versus Packers. Like, okay, they're both good teams. They made it. That's fine. But I think Home Alone wins it, and I'm shocked. I would have never thought Home Alone would have won the whole competition. I could see the Santa Claus winning, but I think Home Alone's going to win, especially with our group. And I'm just so happy that the Christmas Story is not even close or sniffing the finals at this point.
That's the one I'm happy about. Yes. Charlie Brown out, Christmas Vacation out. If I was doing this tournament, I think I said in the beginning, we'd have, It's a Wonderful Life would be there. We would have Christmas Vacation there. We would have Love Actually there, although I admit that was never going to go as far as I would pick it to go. And then that fourth one would probably be between Home Alone and Santa Claus. And I'm just looking around the bracket here. Yeah, those two would probably be like 4 and 5 for me. So Elf probably in the top 10 somewhere. So, I mean, Christmas Carol will be somewhere in the top 10. So I don't think this misses that. This is kind of how brackets go, right? Like usually you're going to get something near the top in the championship. People get it for the most part correct. You're going to have a few scrapes along the way. I'm shocked Christmas Vacation, out of the ones I named, is not still here, but it lost Home Alone, which is still there. So, it doesn't surprise me It's a Wonderful Life didn't poll well. It doesn't surprise me Love Actually didn't poll well, but it does surprise me Christmas Vacation didn't run away with this thing. And now that we know Home Alone beat it pretty handily, I can't see anything beating that, even though I think Santa Claus is the best of the four remaining. So we'll see. Hopefully those are the two in the championship, so we get a fair shake at it, but you never know. My official vote for this one is the Santa Claus.
Yeah, I'm there. Oh, you think Santa Claus is gonna win the whole thing?
No, I think Home Alone's going to win the whole thing. My official vote would be Santa Claus. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same. I would vote for the Santa Claus too. If the Grinch somehow Atlanta braves this competition here and wins the whole thing,
that's an upset.
That would be an upset. But you know what? It's kind of nice hearing that. So I don't know. I wouldn't be mad. Any of these movies I love. I think bigger than Amanda Nunes losing this weekend to Juliana Pena, I think the Scrooge winning this whole thing, that would be like the biggest upset I've ever witnessed in my life.
We would have to, because we can see who voted for. I would have to interview several people if Scrooge won to find out how they voted for it. Because now, like, again, Die Hard I can see as a protest vote. I'm kind of surprised it beat Bad Santa, but that's more subjective than anything. The first round, again, basically not a Christmas movie. If it beats Home Alone and then turns around and beats The Grinch or Santa Claus, I need to actually speak to people and find out how that happened, because it would shock me. Scrooge of the four is the only one I can't see winning the entire thing. And I only say that because if Grinch beats Santa Claus, it really might just, like, there's got to just be a cult following. And then if it beats Santa Claus, I can see it beating Home Alone. I can't see Scrooge beating Home Alone or Santa Claus. So that's the only one here that is kind of not like the others in terms of viability. But we'll see. So it's been fun. Austin, again, thank you for your efforts. We still have some truthers as far as how you've come across making this.
And my wife is one of them. I can't believe this right now.
I don't know what more people want. If I'll tell you, if someone wants to create the perfect absolute challenge, the perfect way to create a bracket that will receive no protests and no complaints and no subjectivity issues, please be my guest. Submit it to us. We're happy to review it.
Well,
and if you're right,
the thing I like is everybody's complaining about it, but or not everybody, but there are people that are complaining about it. But here's the thing. The people in the group made the bracket.
Yes.
You guys nominated for these movies, and then you're upset that I don't understand.
Yeah.
Well, in all fairness, some of these people in the commentary are not like completely active, and some of them are also from Vince's Facebook and not in the group. So I think it is understandable that some of their comments are like, how did this happen, if they weren't in the group to recommend these. So
we can explain it a million times over again, but I will not. Yeah. I mean, there has to be it
was done as well as it could have been done.
The other thing is, I don't think I explained it right in the comments. We didn't use IMDb as a basis for creating these brackets. The movies were nominated by people in the pop culture group, and then the seedings were determined based on IMDb ratings, which is fair, because how else are you going to do it? Then it's subjective, and we'll probably see a completely different bracket that way.
Right. And even beyond that, the movies, so after we did the ratings based on IMDb, the movies that didn't get automatic seedings, which I think was like the top 28, we had another vote that you could still vote in your favorite movie based on the ones that had been nominated to get into this bracket. And then we had the bracket after that. So you really can't question the results at this point, except people's opinions being wrong, which is how I live my life, questioning.
One thing that I do like, though, is this is creating conversation. Like, I like debate, and I like, that people are mad. If everybody was happy, there's no debate, then we have no podcast. So if you're upset, you're upset. That's great. I'm happy with that. That's fine.
Yeah. You've done a great job, Austin. Everyone's coming to your defense eventually. That's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, we will. This has been fun. I think with, again, if you're not in pop culture life, it's very simply called Pop Culture Life. Feel free to click it into your Facebook there and join it. We plan to do stuff like this more often going forward, which is have a podcast accompany kind of a polling situation. This was kind of the first run. I mean, we've got the Oscars coming. We've got other sorts of things that have been nominated here and there from other people as far as wanting to do future polls. So I think this could be something that we kind of do fairly consistently.
Yeah, I've got a continuous note going on of like, I think that right now I have like 15 ideas that I've seen or have thought of. So
Yeah. So all in good fun, obviously. If you think that one of these movies that has been eliminated is your favorite Christmas movie, no one can take that away from you. You enjoy your holiday season. Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah to everyone.
Merry Christmas, you filthy animals, and a Happy New Year.
Have a good holiday season. We'll see you in the life groups. And this has been the best holiday movie of all time bracket podcast. Happy to have you. Thanks for tuning in. Everyone, have a great night.
see you later, everybody.
Bye.